Hey, we got a live studio audience here at 83weeks.com. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications bell. You don't want to miss the next time we're live. I'm trying to keep up with these live questions as they come in, but let me see if I can find one in particular. Someone, I forget who it was, if I can find it here, took issue with me saying, hey, it feels like Kyle Fletcher's in for the push of a lifetime with his win over Will Ospreay. And someone was like, what? That's the push of a lifetime? Of Kyle Fletcher's lifetime, you dumb shit. What's your other big signature win in his career if it's not beating the recognized top guy? I mean, listen, if we got to do simple fucking math on this show for you, we will, you ignorant son of a bitch.
See, now you're becoming like me. See,
well, I'm just saying, like, you know, I've got all this. First of all, we're doing a fucking show here, guys. So when Eric is healing on AEW, I'm going to defend it. Here's the reason why. I'm friends with Tony Khan. Make no secret about it. I also do shows, maybe you've heard of these guys, with Jeff Jarrett, Jim Ross, and Tony Schiavone. I also have a lot of friends who work there and are all making six-figure jobs. I don't want the place that's employing all of my friends and buddies and co-workers to go out of business. Neither does Eric. No one's rooting for AEW to fail. We want AEW to get better and get bigger and get stronger. Eric just sees some missteps. And who better to judge that than him? Not me. What the fuck do I know? I ran one wrestling show. Eric ran it when it was on top and unfortunately ran it when it started to slide. So who's better qualified to spot these things that you can take issue with, but people just think it's just you bitching? Like Bryan Alvarez went viral this week because they covered your interview with Ariel Helwani. And here's pretty much the quote. I may have one word in here wrong. Bryan Alvarez said on his program, Eric said something stupid, completely stupid on Ariel's show. We don't need to explain to our audience that AEW is not dead. Eric is on WWE payroll. Of course he is. I'll let you clear the record here. What payroll are you on specifically, Eric?
That's so funny. And I don't think I've ever met Bryan Alvarez, but what a dumb little fucker. I am not under here's how stupid he is. I mean, you don't even have to have much experience or common sense to figure this out, but clearly Bryan Alvarez is short on both. I just did a WWE two WWE episodes, one on NXT and one for WWE on the A&E network. And then 48 hours later, or 24 hours later, whatever it was, I'm on an MLW show, who, by the way, was in a lawsuit with WWE. Do you think, you stupid little fuck, that if I was under contract with WWE, I don't even have a Legends agreement with WWE.
Yes, you do. I read it online. God damn it! They can't. You don't know your business.
I can't wait for the back pay check to show up.
How dare you think you know more about your income?
I don't have a written agreement with anybody. I don't even have a handshake deal with anybody.
Lying.
If they call and I'm available and it sounds fun, I'll show up. And that goes to everybody. If TNA or if Impact were to call me and say, hey, we're doing something, we'd like you to show up. If it fit into my schedule and it sounded fun, I'll do it. So again, this is a perfect example of guys like Bryan Alvarez, a needy little fucking elf, and his partner Dave Meltzer, talking out of their ass when they don't know what they're talking about ever. They just don't know what they're talking about.
You know what's crazy is I feel like at times, respectfully, because I like Dave Meltzer, and I don't know Bryan Alvarez that great. We've never had an issue. We're not cross, but I feel like they take everything that you say literally. And we saw some of this in our more recent political cycle, and we're not a political show and we're not talking about that. But I'm saying, when you went on Ariel Helwani's show and said AEW is dead, they're done, there's no coming back, Eric Bischoff didn't literally mean the show will not air this Wednesday. It's been canceled, and I have the information and you do not. Like, they're not saying, hey guys, if you work there, you ought to double check your direct deposits this week because there's no money. You didn't say that. You didn't mean that. You mean to say, as far as momentum, which is a real thing in sports and entertainment as well. So it's certainly a thing in sports entertainment. Man, when it turns, it's really hard to get that consumer confidence back. And you're concerned and have expressed that concern that, hey, they've probably peaked. They've seen their mountaintop. It's going to be hard work to get them back there, and you just don't see it happening. Now, that doesn't make you a doomsdayer or a naysayer. To me, you're pointing out, hey, the metrics don't support that there's this magic bullet around the corner here. But for them to just jump on, well, of course it's not dead. He didn't fucking mean like it closed and everybody, he knew before you did. Why are they missing that you didn't mean literally?
Because they don't have anything else to work with. They're not smart. They don't understand the business. They're emotionally, especially Meltzer, emotionally tied to Tony Khan in a way that I don't clearly understand or completely understand. I mean, I don't like to spread rumors, and whenever I talk about something that I've heard and I don't know it firsthand, I make an extra effort to make sure everybody knows that what I'm about to say isn't necessarily a fact. It's third-hand information. But when I hear third-hand information from several people who are closer to the epicenter than I am, I start to wonder if maybe it's true. And one of the things that I've heard for a while now is that Dave is, I don't want to say financially invested, but certainly emotionally invested beyond just covering AEW, to the extent that he was involved in developing a business plan for AEW. I don't know if that's true or not, but it explains a lot. It explains why a guy like Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez clearly are working overtime trying to defend the indefensible. It's just not. And I think it's their emotion because they're so closely tied to it. Dave for years has been, promoting the idea of these, matches for the sake of matches. Although now all of a sudden I see he's kind of reversing his position a little bit, great matches for the sake of great matches and more Japanese matches and his 5-star matches when it doesn't fucking work. It never has worked. But it's what Dave likes, and obviously Tony Khan, and these two have that perspective, flawed as it may be, they have it in common. So when it's not working, Dave has to look at himself in the mirror and go, well, it can't be my fault. It's got to be this guy's fault, or it's got to be something else. We should move the goalpost, or, pretty soon, well, thank goodness they're going to be on Max, because then ratings won't matter anymore. I saw somebody make that comment here a little while ago. All of which is true, because Dave doesn't want to admit to the fact that he's a clown. He was wrong. It's bizarre to me. It's interesting. It's an interesting study in human behavior, which is why I like fucking with people so much, because it's really interesting to see how they react. But for Bryan to suggest that I'm on a WWE payroll, which implies that I'm under contract. He didn't say I was under contract, but he's implying that I'm under contract, is so disingenuous and stupid just on the surface of it. Again, by virtue of the fact that 24 hours after finishing up at WWE, I'm over in MLW.
And by the way, yes, you were paid to be on NXT, but I seem to remember you being paid to be on AEW multiple times too.
Yeah, and by the way, WWE booked me after that. They didn't care. Yeah, because I wasn't under contract.
That's right. Well, listen, you and I've had this conversation off air, but I get opportunities sent to me because for whatever reason they feel more comfortable with me or whatever, and they'd say, "Hey, do you think you and Eric?" or "Hey, do you think Eric?" And I always start with, and you know where I'm going to say here, I don't speak for Eric, but I can tell you, he usually has to check 2 boxes. It's got to be fun and pay well. If it's fun and pays well, he's probably in. I mean, that's kind of the Eric Bischoff mantra for life, is it not?
It is for me now. I mean, if I really wanted a career in the business, I'd probably be a little more judicious about spreading myself around. But, I mean, I love where I live. I love my life. But I'm pretty isolated here. And as much as I love it, it's nice to get out every once in a while and do something a little bit different. And it's always fun for me to get in front of a crowd. I do enjoy that. There's two things I miss about the wrestling business. One is just going out and connecting with the crowd and getting that buzz. And it is, for me, it's a buzz. Like some people do drugs and other shit. When I get out in front of a live crowd and I can stir them up and get a reaction, that's a rush for me. So I do miss that. And I will take an opportunity to enjoy that aspect of my personality. But I also like to get out of Dodge every once in a while. I had an opportunity to go to New York, some really great restaurants in New York. So yeah, while I'm there and I'm having fun, and in the case of MLW, I donated the money just because I wanted to, but it was fun. I'm glad I did it. And it checked the only two boxes I have. Is it fun? Does it pay? Cool. If it fits into my schedule, count me in. I don't have a list of people I will or will not work with. And, part of it is freedom. Freedom means so much to so many people, but it also means a different thing to most people. Not everybody has the same idea of what freedom really is. For me, freedom is I have the ability to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, and nobody can tell me no. And that may not seem like that big a deal to a lot of people, but at this stage in my life, if somebody calls me and says, hey, do you want to do this? I don't want WWE or anybody else to tell me no. That's not freedom to me. And I enjoy my freedom and my flexibility. Even if I don't exercise it often, I know I can if I want to.